video is the first in a three-part series about the corset blanc. In this video, I'll give an overview of what a corset blanc is, how the garment evolved, the context in which it was worn, and how to identify one in 18th century artwork. Part 2 will demonstrate drafting a corset blanc pattern to fit you, and Part 3 will be about constructing the garment. So, what even is a corset blanc? In 1690, Antoine Furetière defined corset as col de jupe without sleeves, which are worn by peasants and on all the wet nurses who are made vain by wearing bodies of satin, of damask, etc. Similarly, a little pair of bodies, which is ordinarily of stitched linen canvas and without boning, which ladies put on when they are in undress. A very similar definition is in the Dictionnaire de l'Académie Française beginning in 1694. In fact, plagiarism may have taken place. The only difference between the definitions is that l'Académie says col de côte instead of col de jupe. Both of these terms point to the 16th century origins of the corset blanc. The col de côte, also called col de jupe and cotillon, was worn from the late 16th century until the end of the 17th century, and possibly into the early 18th by rural French women. The lightly stiffened upper part of the garment was known as the corps, body, and the lower part was called the cotte, petticoat, or jupe, skirt. This garment is analogous to the English petticoat bodies of the same period. The corset blanc and its English counterpart, jumps, evolved from the supportive upper portion of this garment. It is also distinguished from the stiffer and more formal col de baleine, stays. So, what are the hallmarks of a corset blanc, and how do you identify one? In the mid-18th century, both Diderot and Garceau wrote detailed descriptions of the corset blanc. They both agree that it is usually made of linen or cotton canvas, it lacks boning except for 2 channels to stabilize the eyelets, it fastens in the front and occasionally also the back by lacing or tying, and there can be attached or removable sleeves. Garceau provides us with this illustration of a corset blanc pattern, depicting the simple front and back pieces, detachable sleeves, and even eyelets at the waist to tie the petticoat with points, a holdover from the corps de côte. Also pictured are a camisole to the left and a set of stays at the top. The corsets that survive in museum collections tend to be more ornamental than the typical corset, many of them featuring ornate quilting. So while these surviving examples can teach us a lot, it's important to keep in mind that most corsets worn by working people were simpler and more utilitarian than the decorated ones disproportionately preserved in collections. Here is one of the few extant corsets available on the internet, from the Musée National de la Renaissance in Écouen. This example is made of cotton and linen and dates to sometime in the 18th century. As you can see, it has quilted designs, 2 pieces of boning, and laces closed only in the front. It should be noted that while this corset blanc is white, and many are, the word blanc in this context refers not to the garment being white, but to it being blank, or empty of boning. Here's a very similar one from the Colonial Williamsburg collection, dated to between 1720 and 1750. We love to see it. This example is also of cotton and linen and features similar quilting. Quilting was an important industry in the south of France during this time period, and the quilted corset and other garments were and are a significant part of the Provençal regional folk costume, as we can see in many paintings by Antoine Raspail. Here is a very similar Provençal quilted corset with attached sleeves from the Musée de l'Impression sur Étoffe in Mulhouse, France. However, we can see from portraiture that most corset blanc in other parts of the Francophone world were not quilted, and they appear in diverse colors and fabrics. From my survey of French genre paintings and portraiture, it seems that white was the most common color for corsets worn as undergarments, especially by the upper class. Here are some paintings showing white corsets in this socioeconomic context. White also seems to be the dominant color of corsets worn as outer garments in paintings from the Caribbean colonies, which makes sense in the warmer climate because it absorbs less heat than darker colors. For corsets worn as outer garments by working class people in France, more colors appear, especially blue, pink, yellow, tan, red, rust, and green. From studying these paintings, dictionary entries, extant garments, and other primary sources like inventories, we can be confident that the corset blanc was a common garment in the 18th century Francophone world, whether in France proper or a colony in North America or the Caribbean. This is especially true of working-class French women, who seem to not have worn or owned stays with the same frequency as their English-speaking counterparts. Thus, I have made corset blanc for myself and friends who portray French settlers in mid-18th century Canada. This is my first corset blanc, which I made back in 2017, and I've been wearing it very hard ever since. It being my first, I have grown in my skills considerably, and it no longer fits perfectly or is up to my research standards, but I've learned so much from wearing this garment for the past 5 years. It was made entirely by hand, of 2 layers of heavy linen, 2 pieces of plastic boning, and twill tape. My second corset blanc was made in 2019 for my friend X using the same materials and techniques. Here you can see it's being worn in a performance art piece. And coming soon, a third corset blanc with sleeves using my new updated pattern, which I'm making for my friend and official writing partner Grace Alberti. The next video will be the patterning process for that, and a third video will follow about how to construct the garment. So, if you enjoyed this video, I would recommend subscribing so you'll know when the next part of the series is out. In the meantime, you can find my full research presentation about corset blanc linked in the description. Happy sewing, Happy New Year, and see you next time!